In a twist that would make Hollywood scriptwriters blush, the latest so-called assassination attempt on President Trump has unraveled faster than a cheap sweater. The accused, a diehard Trump supporter, and a conservative media figure. The evidence? Flimsier than a house of cards in a hurricane. So tonight we're going to pull back the curtain on what might be the most bungled false operation in political history. Was this a desperate attempt to smear Trump supporters or something even more sinister? So buckle up, folks. This ride is about to get very bumpy. Now, folks, in times like these, when the truth seems to be constantly under attack, it's crucial to take care of yourself. That's why I want to talk to you about something that can help you look and feel your best. Collagen. Did you know that after the age of 20, your body produces about 12% less collagen each decade? That's why so many of us struggle with wrinkles and sagging skin, but here is the good news. This magic secret powder combines top 5 critically important types of collagen for skin health. It's formulated to reduce visible signs of aging and promote a youthful glow. Do yourself a favor and get it today at healthwithgary.com. You'll get 51% off, plus free VIP live health and fitness coaching for life. Don't wait. Start turning back the clock now. Okay, so his name is Vem Miller, and this is his statement that he has released after the events unfolded. And we're going to get to his official statement. First, we got to present you with the timeline. Of course, they came out. The Riverside County Sheriff declared that a third assassination attempt was thwarted in Coachella, Riverside County. But was it? Why would he come out and make these statements? And then, of course, there was the quote that was circulating all over X. I want to kill the president. And the quote was attributed to Vem Miller. The news began to spread wildly. In fact, I actually posted about it. And I started to dig into his social media accounts. And then I started to notice something very strange. He was arrested a half mile from the event, carrying a loaded shotgun and a handgun, and supposed fake rally passes. So I did a quick search for his name, and I found all kinds of information. I found all of his social media right away, so the information was not getting scrubbed off of the internet. It wasn't happening. Usually when these things happen, they scrub every single piece of information, but that didn't happen here. We had his name, we had his socials. And what I found interesting is his Instagram account. I'm like, this is the America Happens Network. Partner, co-founder of America Happens Network. I'm like, that sounds so familiar. Why do I know that name? And then I'm like, wait a second. He ran for Nevada State Assembly as a Republican. I'm like, none of this makes sense. Now, at the time, I wasn't sure if it was the same person. I'm like, this could be totally unknown. This could be like just a, like maybe there is someone with the same name that did something. But the fact that you have this like straight up Trump supporter going to a Trump event, or somebody going to a Trump event named that with that name, and then you have this person, like it all just seems to line up perfectly. So I went and I looked and I saw on the Instagram account that somebody named I Heart Mindy follows Vem Miller. And I know Mindy. I mean, I know her well. She's a friend. She's awesome. And so I reached out to Mindy, and she confirmed that Vem is her business partner and also a pro-Trump supporter. And she said he recently uncovered a deep state plot involving the feds selling land that they don't own. I asked when the situation, if it was a setup, and Mindy made it clear she believes that it was. And according to her, Vem's recent work may have put him in the crosshairs of those looking to silence him. So, of course, this changes the narrative. Could he be a target of what he uncovered? So, of course, in response to the rumors that Vem was trying to assassinate Trump, another user denied those claims, confirming that Vem's a passionate MAGA supporter who would never hurt Trump. W. Whitney 78 pointing out the official police report doesn't even mention any threat to Trump. So why would these quotes be attributed to him? Why would these headlines be out there? Like why would if anything, that's straight up misinformation. They noted that he's a Second Amendment advocate from Nevada, made poor judgment by bringing his firearms into California, and he suggested Vem has since been released and now feels foolish. And of course, he has made the statement. National File making this point: there was no assassination attempt. A source close to Trump's campaign. A man at a perimeter checkpoint had a gun, but there was no incident. Law enforcement told the Post this, according to National File, replying to us that the FBI does not believe this was an assassination attempt and the former president's life was never in danger. Other people, of course, expressing disbelief. How could this have happened? Can't wrap my mind around it. Mindy Robinson, I was like, Mindy, I don't know where this guy is, but you got to put out a statement. I'm texting her. I'm calling her. Make a statement official. And of course she did. She said here, the man they arrested for supposedly trying to kill Trump is her friend. He exposed the deep state cover-up involving the feds and Bundy Ranch scandal. Wow. This connects to the Bundy Ranch. She says she believes this is 100% some kind of setup and retribution for exposing it. That our Trump security team is a bunch of dipshits trying to make up for how badly they failed in Pennsylvania with any kind of win they can get, fake or not, which could make sense. There isn't a universe his intention was to kill Trump. He's worked too hard in this movement to expose the deep state and all the people against him. If he had guns in his car that were illegal, whoop-de-effing do. She says, as a pro 2A advocate, asked me if she cares about a good guy with a gun in an unsafe place like California. And she goes on to say she wants to see what this threat was. But I think what's interesting, as Mindy points out here, that what his testimony, his video testimony, which I think is the strongest, obviously, is his personal account. He states that he's out here clearing his name after the false accusation. The lies from the police in Palm Desert and Riverside County are exposed. Body cams and evidence will prove his innocence. So I did post this video on the full message on X as well. You can go and see that, but I did create a shorter version. I'm not going to play the whole thing for you, but we'll listen to some of it.
All right, guys, so this is Vem Miller of the America Happens Network. I'm releasing this statement because of the false information that is currently being released by the police department, I believe, of Palm Desert, Indio, Coachella, and the Riverside County. And I will state that what I'm about to tell you is 100% true and accurate. The body cams and the surveillance footage in the police station, as well as all the evidence at hand, will reflect that indeed what I'm saying is 100% true and accurate. I'm choosing to do it this way because, frankly, I've gotten, I don't know, 100 calls in the last 2 hours, hour and a half since these false and defamatory statements have been released by the police authorities in this region. And, let me start it off by saying this. So my name is Vem Miller. I am one of the partners at the America Happens Network, which is americahappens.com. I always knew we were going to go viral in a very big way, and some of our stories and exposés have been going viral, but I never thought that the most explosive story would involve myself and the false statements that are currently circulating across the internet. I'm currently in a cheap motel room, and I'll explain why I'm in a cheap motel room in a second. So I run the America Happens Network with my partners, And as a part of that, we've been integrally involved in our passion, which is protection of our constitutional rights, including freedom of press, freedom of speech, Second Amendment. And while the Constitution in its entirety is near and dear to our heart, that is our primary agenda. While we are currently, and we have been for close to 8 years, staunch supporters of President Donald Trump, we don't align ourselves with any political party except for one that supports our freedoms, our constitutional rights, our medical freedoms, and gets rid of the tyranny of corrupt politicians that is plaguing our nation. So to be very clear, that is our number one agenda. In that, the President Donald Trump has been near and dear to our hearts because he's one of the only individuals that I've seen have the courage to actually stand up to this tyranny against we the people. In 2022, I ran for office in Nevada as a Republican. Since 2000, I've been involved in the Republican Party in Nevada. I'm a Trump caucus captain. I've collected votes for Donald Trump, and I'm also a Trump team leader. It is with that I decided to come to Coachella after receiving a special invitation from members of the Nevada Republican Party. I was scheduled to drive from Los Angeles to Coachella, where I arrived at 3 p.m. on October 12th, 2024. At 3 p.m., once I arrived to Coachella, I was told to go towards a special entrance where there's parking. Prior to entering the parking lot area, I did what I always do, which is that, and there's much evidence of this, if you ask around Nevada police officers, well, I will fully transparently let them know that in the trunk of my car, I carry 2 firearms. One is a Glock, one is a shotgun. And these 2 firearms that I carry with me are simply for protection. And purely for protection, I purchased both these guns. And so prior to October 12th, every time I would go to a Trump rally, and most of these were in Nevada or states that are certainly not California, I would tell the police officers out of courtesy that, hey, you know, my name is Vem Miller. I work closely with the Trump campaign and individuals within the Trump campaign. I'm just letting you know that in the trunk of my car, I have 2 firearms. I'm certainly not going to take these firearms into the actual rally location. And by the way, there's metal detectors and stuff like that. So it's not like that is even possible. But I would clearly tell him that I got in the back of the truck. And the reason I would tell him this is because God forbid somebody broke into my truck or something. I want him to be aware of what was in there. And it was simply a common courtesy of the police. They've thanked me for the courtesy of notifying them. They've said, obviously, you can't take your firearms. I wouldn't even think of doing such a stupid thing. And they've been fine. They've been fine. And the critical mistake I made is, I guess, forgetting the location that I was in California. So I drive up with my special entry pass. And by the way, they're saying I had a counterfeit pass. That's a bunch of nonsense. I could prove that I had a special entry pass directed to me, sent directly to me by officials within the Republican Party of Nevada. I was an actual invitee to that event. So as I'm driving, there's an area where you enter the parking lot after you pass a sheriff. I pull up to the sheriff and I tell him that, in full transparency, I just want to let you know in the back of my truck, I got, 2 lawful firearms, purchased lawfully, registered lawfully. And I'm just letting you know that that's back there as a courtesy, which is a courtesy that I always do. That police officer asks me to pull over. So I pull over. A police officer comes to my window. I roll the window down and he asked me to get out of my car. I got out of my car. He asked me to turn around, put my hands behind my back, which is what I did. He handcuffed me at that juncture. I said, why are you handcuffing me? He said he's doing it for his own protection. I'm not there for anything nefarious, but nonetheless, this police officer felt threatened when he's the one with the firearm right then and there. At this point, they put me in the back of a police car, which is scorching hot. And frankly, I'm feeling faint at this point, and I'm having difficulty speaking. I've been driving for hours, and frankly, I had to go to the bathroom very badly, to a point where it was giving me a headache, and my blood sugar being off, me being in the back of that truck or police car in the scorching heat, which was akin to a sauna, was really causing me health problems, causing me heart palpitations, causing me breathing issues. And they just stuck me back there, closed the door in this sauna-like police car. And it came to a point where I had to start like knocking on, well, I should say knocking. I was hitting the door with my feet because my hands were handcuffed behind my back. And I'm just like trying to make noise so that I could get their attention, because I've been inside there for an hour. And if you could imagine, with your blood sugar all over the place, heart palpitating, being in a sauna-like environment is not the healthiest situation to be in. I actually felt like I might faint and be hospitalized. And finally, the police officers come there. I pretty much begged them to get my water, which has 2 supplements in there that could have helped my health. They refused to, because they're like, what if there's something in there? And so they refused me what I needed, which was my medication. They kept me in the car. They did turn on the AC after what was hour, I don't even know. And it's hard for me to know the exact time. It could have been an hour, it could have been an hour and a half of this torturous experience. I don't know, because frankly, I was too lightheaded and I was almost fainting. When I explained to them what was going on, they said, we could take you to the hospital. I'm like, rather than take me to the hospital, what if you just get me my water? And they refused to do so. And they gave me, one of the police officers put water in front of my mouth and poured it in there and stuff. Eventually, they did give me my water bottle, but that was hours later. So, at this juncture, I'm in the back of the truck and I'm demanding from this arresting police officer that I get my one phone call, which he refuses. He also refuses to tell me what's going on. This police officer came up to me and he basically said that, look, we just want to make sure your law firms are properly registered, that they're lawfully purchased. Well, next thing these guys do is that they completely ransack everything in my car. And when I say ransack, I had 3 suitcases in there, including clothes, including crucial medication and supplements, including my laptop computer and iPad, camera equipment, tripods, recording equipment, basically all the equipment I would need in order to produce content. And to be very clear, I wasn't there under media. I was there as a special guest, and I wasn't taking any of that equipment in there because I was not there as media. So they ransacked the crap out of my car, and lo and behold, they find absolutely nothing. I think it was clear that this was an attempt to find incriminating information or evidence upon myself, because carrying a firearm is protected by our Constitution. And say they found other, something nefarious in there, that would clearly be a way to justify what they were doing. But there was no justification. During this time, I hear this arresting officer call me a maggot and one of those dumb Trump people to a female officer. And he didn't know that I had overheard what he said. And at this point, it becomes very clear that this arresting officer's goal was to make an example of a Trump supporter, was to persecute a Trump supporter having nothing to do with the law. That was very clear by his behavior, by how he spoke with me. And so they tear my car apart, and clearly they find nothing. Then this arresting police officer comes back and says that they're going to throw me in jail and that they're going to impound my car. Tow truck comes eventually, takes my car with all my equipment, my clothes, my medication. They impound it. Okay? Now, This arresting officer comes up to me and says, the Secret Service and the FBI want to speak with you. Okay? And this is when his narrative started, I guess, falling apart, because he told me that, you know, there's a serious situation, there's been assassination attempts on Trump, blah, 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 and they're going to investigate this, they're going to interrogate you, blah, 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 right? And so now we're about 3.5 hours into this ordeal, I would approximate. And this arresting officer drives me to an RV where the feds and the Secret Service are stationed. Now, what occurs to me is that the fulcrum in all this event is this one arresting officer. He's the one passing information to the feds, to the Secret Service, and he's the one coming back to me and relaying this information, although it was very clear that he was skewing this information. He walks out of the car, he has a conversation with individuals that are Secret Service and feds. And he's in this conversation, which I'm watching through this kind of grid that they have in the back of the trucks, you know, that kind of prison grid looking thing. I could tell from the reaction of the Secret Service and feds that they're just not kind of buying his story.
Hey guys.
So they're not buying the story, the Secret Service, and he points out, and he points out this is the fulcrum. It's the arresting officer who's got a grudge against MAGA, against Trump, and was clearly just persecuting this guy for some kind of brownie points. And clearly, the arresting officer and the sheriff took it to the next level to grandstand on this moment as if they were heroes, that they thwarted an attempt. I mean, if you ask me, that's really what this comes down to, is that they were looking for some glory. They were looking for some press time, and they were going to use this man and Donald Trump. They were going to exploit this man and Donald Trump and the fear that Americans have for another attack on Trump for their own gain. That's how I see it. Still roaming points out Vem Miller made the statement online. If Riverside Sheriff Department had real evidence, the story wouldn't have taken a full 24 hours to break to the public. Think about that. 24 hours? And then we find out? It sounds like they're getting their ducks in a row.
To the rally. Bianco, I'm the sheriff of Riverside County, and we are obviously here to talk about an incident that occurred yesterday at the rally that former President Trump had in Coachella. Yesterday afternoon, before former President Trump arrived to the rally, we made contact with an individual on the inner perimeter of our operation at the rally. As you can imagine, this was a very large event in regard to previous attempts on the former president's life. This was not something that we were taking lightly. We had a very detailed plan in place on how we were going to keep not only the former president safe, but all of the participants or the attendees of the rally safe. In general,
but they put Vem's life in danger with his blood sugar, denying him his supplements that he needed to stabilize in a vehicle that was in it for an hour, making him sweat. This is absolutely unacceptable.
I will tell you that we had a larger outside perimeter and then an inside perimeter that was completely controlled by us, by Riverside County Sheriff's deputies, and both of them served different purposes. Only people that were allowed inside the perimeter, the outside perimeter, in a vehicle was if...
Okay, I've had enough of that guy. So, of course, he's released a statement. It's now out. The full statement's on our channel. Of course, the sheriff said he doesn't remember saying they probably thwarted a third assassination attempt, but later he says he probably did.
God And I honestly, I will be honest with you, I don't remember saying that, but it certainly would be something I did say because
smiling.
It's something that in the last 12 hours we've talked about extensively of what happened. Thank God. And by an act of really what we did in the week leading up to keeping that place secure, I certainly wouldn't want to be saying after the fact that I wish we would have done something to prevent that shooting. And there is absolutely no way that any of us are going to truly know what was in his head. I can tell you that none of the other probably 50,000 people that showed up yesterday for that event brought multiple passports with different names and guns. And if there is any further statement about whether or not he belonged there, the statement of him saying that he was given credentials to be there by someone else, that's not up to me to decide. I mean,
so I get it. Okay, sure. Heightened sense of security. You don't want to look back and say, I wish I did something. But after it becomes clear, and after even the Secret Service says this guy's not a threat, let him go. Okay? Maybe if you're that concerned, maybe take his firearms and let him get them after the show. I mean, this whole thing stinks.
An unregistered vehicle with fake license plate and loaded firearms. If you're asking me right now, I probably did have deputies that prevented the third assassination attempt. If we are that politically lost, that we have lost sight of common sense and reality and reason, that we can't say that, holy crap, what did he show up with all of that stuff for and loaded guns, and I'm going to be accused of being dramatic. We have a serious, serious problem in this country.
Now, if you're not familiar with the sovereign citizen movement, there's people that have, either removed themselves from the authority of the federal government. They have declared their own individual sovereignty. They've taken the appropriate steps to do so that they can, of course, driving, the driver's license, all these things are like commercial acts, and they all have different commercial functions. So a lot of times these regulations and laws are all designed to regulate commercial behavior. But, the Constitution states we have a right to travel. Okay, to travel. And the sovereign citizen movement, they have a method for allowing constitutional travel in this country. I'm not familiar with all the points of it, but in my opinion, it all lines up with the sovereignty that we have as individuals by God and granted, by God and enshrined in the Constitution. And the sovereign citizen movement versus, the federal government and law enforcement, there's a long history of back and forth and clashing. So it's not outside the realm of reason to consider that these officers also understood what the sovereign citizen movement was. They saw the license plate. They probably wanted to target him just based on that alone. But it also raised red flags. And then when he disclosed, he disclosed. Does an assassin just disclose that he has weapons? Okay. No. Does an assassin go through a checkpoint? No. Okay. I mean, I guess crooks did, and they found that rangefinder. But my point is that they exploited this man for their own personal gain, so they can make a press conference like that and state that did they thwart it? Yeah, we did. Raheem Kassam said, here's the notice that they gave Vem Miller. He's redacted details. They do not cite him for any fake documentation, passports, or license plates, but yet they go on and call him fake in a press conference. He signed under duress. And Raheem points out that he knows Vem personally. I believe this is a policing error. Here's the citation. And Someone brings up, is this a publicity stunt? I think not. But he is out on bail. I'm not sure what this person is trying to say here, but here's some pictures of him. Here he is, hanging out with prominent members of Trump's inner circle. So we're just going to put this to bed right now. This man was not there to so-called kill the president. And I believe that this was an attempt for the press to grandstand. I mean, not for the press, for the sheriffs to grandstand, but the arresting officer clearly had an axe to grind with the MAGA movement. So that amplified everything and then put everything in motion. And there's no reason that Vem should have been treated in that manner. So, I mean, here he is. This is him at the RNC, walking around.
I don't know. See, that's a Republican National Convention behind me. Wonderful people, wonderful time. Just not happy that it's all cashless.
I certainly get that point. Look at that. There he is with Don Jr. right there. Jordan Peterson. Who else? There's Vivek. I mean, this guy is seriously an advocate for the MAGA movement. That officer clearly wasn't. And this is another opportunity for these sheriffs to come out and say this. They stopped something that never would have happened to begin with.
Documentation.
I am one of the partners at the America House.
So, as we've now seen, the truth behind this alleged assassination attempt is far more complex and potentially far more sinister than we were initially led to believe. So it raises serious questions about who's really pulling the strings in the political theater. So here's what I want to know from you. Who do you think benefits most from this kind of operation? The Democrats, the deep state, or is there another player that we're not seeing? Share your thoughts, your theories in the comments. Together, we can unravel who's really behind this web of deceit.